Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher Zarnecki. I'm the chef and owner of the Joel Palmer House restaurant. You're watching Wine Bros.
Wine
Cool
Bros.
intro, special effects, explosions, rock and roll. Every week, one now. We're going to be interviewing a winemaker from Oregon wine country. And we're not going to geek out on all sorts of technical stuff. We're going to have some fun. We're going to taste some Pinot. And this week, we're bringing on Lindsay Woodard of Retour wine. So it's going to be kind of a fun trifecta. You're going to have the chef's perspective. You're going to have Stefan, the wine tour operator's perspective. And you're going to have Lindsay, the winemaker's perspective. For those of you who don't know, I'm fourth generation chef and restaurateur. But my brother has had the benefit of growing up in the restaurant family too. So you get some pretty hardcore wine geeks here. Stefan, you ready to do this thing?
Oh yeah, I've been chomping at the bit all week. But first, before we bring Lindsay on, she's not even in the waiting room yet, so that's okay. How are you doing, brother? I haven't seen you all week. You dropped off wine, but we just waved. Are you going crazy? Are the boys just driving you up the wall? What's it like in your household this week?
Well, honestly, I'm doing great. I love the fact that I get to spend all this time with the boys and Mary. I've cooked more meals at home in the last 2 weeks than I have in the last 2 years. And when you get space from the boys that, you're doing something right. So that's good.
That's good.
Mary, my wife, she works from home, so she's on the front of the computer 8 to 14 hours a day anyway. So I basically transitioned into daddy mode. Yeah. And I take the boys to the restaurant 3 days a week at least, so that they can run around. We can let the dog run around. We toss the Frisbee. We toss the baseball, and basically hang out. We're going to have a secret Emmett Daddy Day tomorrow. Probably going to take him fishing or something.
Okay.
I'm loving it.
Now here's the real test. Are you like dad cooking at home where it's like freezer spaghetti, or are you like trying out recipes and doing, fancier shit like that?
The fancy fun stuff I do pretty much save for the restaurant.
Yeah, I knew freezer spaghetti.
Well, last night it was freezer meatloaf. I was like cleaning out the freezer. Like, 2 years expired, frozen bread. Okay, that's going in the trash. Ooh, what's this underneath? Ground beef. Meatloaf time.
Dad would be proud. Well done. All right, well, Lindsay's in the waiting room. Let's bring her on.
Awesome.
And here we go, getting going with Lindsay.
Oh, you do that well.
I try. Well, my kids watch a lot of YouTube, so I have a lot of.
Yeah, right. Thank God for YouTube Kids. I'll tell you what, man.
There's some.
And iPads in general.
There's some funny stuff. Good Mythical Morning. Have you watched that?
Mm-mm.
Hi, Lindsay. I see you. Can you hear us? Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah. Great.
Have you ever watched Good Mythical Morning?
No, sir.
On YouTube.
What is Good Mythical Morning? I don't know that one.
It's two guys, and we'll change the view. It's two guys, and they what do they do? They're just funny, and they try different things. Like they try different foods, and they're like high school friends. It's just kind of funny. It's just funny. I don't know. Just check it out. Like
if the coronavirus is doing anything, I'm sure it's creating another 1,000 or 100,000, YouTube stars, right? Not that that's the way we want to go. Frankly, I just like to drink wine and talk to winemakers. But like with all this free time at home, there's a lot of cool creative stuff coming out. I was about to say shit.
Anything that's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that?
I said I'll watch anything that's funny right now.
No, do it. Go down the Good Mythical Morning rabbit hole, and you'll find some funny stuff. They have some good compilations, and I do recommend it. Well, hi, Lindsay. Great to see you.
Hi.
Welcome.
Great to see you.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Wish we could see you in person. That's always fun.
Clink.
Bink. If you don't know, Lindsay has a adorable little tasting room in downtown Mcminnville where you can go to taste her wines when the apocalypse is over.
Or during, if you're down for it, armed, a spear or bow.
Yeah, whatever.
And the corkscrew.
Corkscrew.
That'll come in handy.
So tell us what 2 wines we're drinking here today.
Yes. So we're tasting the 2015 Perry Pursuit and the 2015 Manifest Destiny Pinot Noir.
Okay.
Before we go further into the wine, we introduced you as being the owner winemaker of Retour. Tell us the connection between Retour and the 2 labels you just told us about.
Yes, so Retour started in 2005, and Manifest Destiny is part of Retour. I started making that wine in 2009, and then I introduced Perry Pursuit in 2015. It was a collaborative project that my brother, Jeff Woodard, owner of Woodard Wines.
That's a retail shop in Mcminnville?
Yes. So we started that venture together, and Perry Pursuit is Latin for equal footing. So it's about the 6 degrees of separation of everyone who's working in the vineyard, working each year in the fall during harvest. And of course, like anyone who is involved in growing, making, selling, pouring, or consuming.
So why did you start a second label? Why not just make this wine, Retour, and make it the Perry Pursuit designation or something?
So I produce 5 different wines, and they all have different labels. They are under the overall umbrella of Retour per se. So Retour has the metal label, and it's only 1 wine each year. Manifest Destiny has its own identity. Perry Pursuit, my rosé of Pinot Noir, and then the Holy Grail, which is the highest upper echelon of the portfolio of wine. So each wine has their own story and own identity.
So you wanted to keep them completely separate, because some wineries, they'll have 10 different Pinots, 5 different single vineyard designates, Willamette Valley and a reserve and all these other things, but they'll still fall under, one, major label. Why did you go completely off brand with the Perry Pursuit and the Manifest Destiny?
That was intended to be a venture that was separate from what I was doing, is having my own winery, Retour, and then Jeff having his own wine shop, Woodard Wines, and then together this is something that we're doing. So he's not a part of Retour, I'm not a part of Woodard Wines, but we're siblings, we're best friends, we work together, and it was inevitable someday that we would, have our hand at putting a great Pinot Noir together and selling it together. So
Stefan, have you had these before?
I have not had these specific wines. I have had some of Lindsay's other wines. We did a tasting there, I don't know, a year ago, something like that.
Yes.
Really enjoyed them, of course. And so when you go to the Retour tasting room, you're tasting these wines or just the Retour wines or what?
So you taste the rosé of Pinot Noir, Perry Pursuit, Manifest Destiny, and Retour.
Okay. All in the same tasting room, which is...
Depending upon how special you are, usually a library wine, some older vintages might be busted out,
So if you were perhaps followers of a particular Wine Brother interview team, that might get you special access?
It could. It absolutely could.
Okay, now you mentioned back vintages. Are you a cool vintage wine lover or Oregon wine lover, or do you like those easy Goldilocks vintages?
No, cool vintages.
Cool vintages, baby.
But those are good.
Back to 2007, baby.
Yeah.
But now those will give you generally like lighter wines. I would not use light as a way to describe these 2 wines.
So Perry Pursuit is actually a wine that is really meant to be enjoyed now. It certainly benefits, with some aeration in the glass, and it actually would have been amazing if I could have gotten you these wines that have been open for like 2 or 3 days, or maybe open last night per se. So the Manifest Destiny that you have in your other glass actually shows the best after being open 3-4 days. So that's how kind of the evolution of all my wines are. So yes.
By the way, I like the little touch at the top.
Yeah, great.
The little, what is it? Hemp?
Yeah, it's jute twine. I wrap every single bottle by hand,
Wow.
and my mom cuts the twine. I wrap the bottles. My brother Jeff will help if he's not, off fishing or doing something.
But why not do something like wax? I mean, I've heard nightmares about like how not fun that is to do. What you just described sounds worse.
I know. Wax, I really don't enjoy wax at all. So Manifest Destiny is a tribute to my family who came over on the Oregon Trail in 1847. So I'm 6th generation to Oregon, 4th generation to Mcminnville. So that's right. And I really wanted to commemorate and show something with a label design that took you back to the 1800s. And one would show you that you're about to enjoy a very nice, highly crafted Pinot Noir that's in the bottle. And then
but you haven't been in Oregon all the time. You spent some time outside of Oregon also, right?
Right. So I started working in the wine business when I was 19 years old. And in my 20s, I had an opportunity to move to the Napa Valley and lived in St. Helena, where I was the director of winery sales for Retour Crystal. So hence the wine glasses that we're drinking out of.
Very nice.
And can you confirm a rumor for me?
Yes.
Oh, this isn't even a rumor, but it's a story I tell like it's the truth. I was told that the original name for this glass was the Oregon Pinot Noir glass.
True.
But that California wineries that made Pinot put up such a stink about it that Riedel renamed it the New World Pinot Noir glass. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, they couldn't, upset those in California, but it is the Oregon Pinot glass. And it was developed by Oregon winemakers who really felt that their wines weren't showing the best in the Burgundy glass and wanted to highlight it in the American glass. I, however, personally feel that my wines show better in the Burgundy glass, not the Oregon.
Now, the Burgundy glass has got the same shape, but it's bigger. Is that right?
Right. So it just has the tulip at the top. And if you cut off that tulip, then it's the basic Burgundy glass. Yes.
Right. Yeah, I call that the Chardonnay glass at the restaurant.
That's it. I'm getting a different glass or getting my chainsaw to cut off the tulip because obviously Lindsay's wanting to.
Well, when we were doing our pregame, Stefan, you weren't there. I took a sip out of my coffee cup, and she's like, "Are you drinking my wine out of a tumbler? What are you doing?"
Well, I just thought it looks like a good pour, and I was also drinking rosé out of a little, cup.
That is a good size.
Yeah,
I would drink rosé on the right day out of a boot.
I totally would.
Yeah,
depends on who's pouring it, of course. Preferably somebody you love.
Yeah, ideally, but if it's chilled down and it's on my porch, just bring it on. That's what I say.
Is there a thing where you drink like champagne out of a high-heeled glass? Is that a thing, or is that just? Never mind. I'm going crazy. Ignore me.
That sounds like some '80s like steamy flick with Michael Douglas or something. Like, not that I would have seen any of those.
Maybe like a scene from Sex and the City.
Right. Well, that would be more like taking a bath in champagne, right?
Yeah. All right. So, Lindsay, you were down in Napa, and you spent some time. Okay, you said with Riedel, and now did you do winemaking down there? What else did you do, or just the Riedel?
So I worked for Riedel for 18 months. I was their director of winery sales, and I worked with all the wineries in the U.S. And I had special accounts like Dina DeLuca, the Culinary Institute of America, the French Laundry, and it was really amazing opportunity. Of course, I still was able to work with wineries in Oregon as well. So after the 18 months, I really missed the marketing and public relations side of my background. And so I started my PR company, which I still have to date. So I help build brands from all around the world and design labels for wineries and everything from M&A to brand identity and
Wait, did you say MMA? Like I didn't know professional fighters had a wine.
Well,
mergers and acquisitions.
Or whiskey. Conor McGregor has Proper 12. Oh, it's a good whiskey. You work with Conor McGregor on his private. Never mind. You know who Conor McGregor is?
See, whenever you throw out like an acronym or a technical term, if I don't know what it is, I'm gonna ask and interrupt.
Brother
So.
12.
I'm sure somebody was wondering the same thing. So, so I started that. That was my first business in 2004, and then 2005. As if I wasn't busy enough, I just dove right in and decided that I wanted to make a Pinot Noir from Oregon, from the Willamette Valley, not be specific to any individual appellations. So Retour is a blend from 6 vineyards all throughout the Willamette Valley. Average age of vines now hit up to, over 50 years old. I always said that I wanted to work with vines that existed that here in the Valley when I was a child growing up. And so that's my program. So I moved back home and came back to my roots and left the Napa Valley. So Retour is French for going back or homecoming. So again, leaving Napa, coming back to Oregon, and where I was born and raised and belong, and will be here as long as I live.
Okay. Now, tell me, what would be your most memorable glass of wine you had, whether it was the way it tasted or the situation in which you drank it? What's one glass that kind of like pops out for you?
Oh, this is always like the hardest question I feel like that you ever get in wine, but I will say that my desert island wine is a champagne. I know it's not Pinot Noir, but there's Pinot Noir in the champagne. It would be Henri Giraud Fût de Chêne. And I actually, literally.
We'll put the link. We'll type that in the text box down below.
Yeah.
My brother smells it. He's actually the largest retailer in the U.S. of their wines, but this is like crazy good. But I'll just show you. It has a little staple closure instead of the cage on it.
Oh wow,
that's cool. So is it one piece or 2 pieces on the side? Is it like one big staple that goes around, or okay?
Yeah, it's the original type of closure they used for champagne back in the day before the wire cages happened. And the reason why they dip it in 24 karat gold is so it won't rust. It's not about, bling. But
totally not about bling. Totally not about bling.
It's an amazing bottle of wine, and I love the family and the owners. So of course, there's that emotional aspect as well, but I also remember, now you're triggering some memories, and I will share that when I started the internship program between the International Pinot Noir Celebration in Linfield when I was 19 years old. And I'm sure I was 21, by the time that I had this bottle of wine, because I worked with them for many years. But I remember at the Salmon Bake, somebody brought an Imperial of 1929 Chateau Yquem. And I'd never, had a wine that old before, obviously, who would back in the day.
And an Imperial-sized bottle, that's how many bottles in one?
It's like 5.
Wow. Okay, so like yay big.
You gotta love IPNC. Right. I feel like you could do a whole podcast just on like IPNC Salmon Bake lore.
Totally, absolutely. So
might do that.
So that was really memorable to me, and just people trekking in like all the old Burgundies and everything as well. So, but I always feel like that, sometimes the most memorable wine that you have is when you're in an awesome setting with someone who's really special, and you're like on a tailgate drinking, a cheap rosé or Pinot Grigio from Italy that you would never find to be interesting. But
well, speaking of stories and how it connects to wine and IPNC, International Pinot Noir Celebration, you guys have both seen Sideways, right?
Oh yeah,
the movie Sideways with what's that actor's name? I love him.
Never heard of it.
Paul Giamatti.
Yes, thank you. So the I forget the author's name. I think his name is Rex something or other, who wrote the book and then it turned into the movie. He wrote a sequel. Did you know that?
I heard there was one set in Oregon.
Yes.
There was a sequel. It is set in Oregon. It hasn't been a movie yet, and it was. I know we're not going to talk too much controversial stuff, but it was horrible.
Bad book.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a scene at IPNC where there's a dunk tank, and people like throw the ball, and the person like falls into a huge vat of Pinot.
Okay, now I think that's a good idea.
That sounds like a blasphemous waste of Pinot.
Okay, well, depends on the Pinot. So Stollard just bought the Wings and Waves water park and the Evergreen. You heard about this?
Yep.
I say water park, you replace all the water with Pinot, and you turn it into just a grown-up playland. You have a wave pool where you and a water. You can be going on the. They
have to paint the windows black though.
How drunk everyone would be.
Yeah, all that wine.
Absolutely.
And bathing suits.
All the bachelorette parties can go there. It'll work. It'll be perfect. The birthday parties, 21 and over. You go to the water slide, folks.
Let me know how that turns out.
Airplane
water park with wine. 21 and over only, right?
Call me, Bill. Call me. I've got ideas. Ideas. Last question.
Maybe not good ideas, but he's got ideas.
I know I've got ideas. I didn't say they were good. Lindsay, last question. Where do you see the future? Where do you see Oregon going, or the Willamette Valley? Where do you see the future of Oregon wine?
I think it's going great places. It has been for a long time. I actually get a little antsy when people say that, oh, it's a new and emerging region. And Oregon Pinot Noirs have been around for a long time and doing great things since the 70s. Of course, there's been a lot to build on from that, but I feel like folks are getting more serious about hospitality and building their programs where maybe they didn't have something like that before. So certainly stepping it up, and I see people flooding to the Willamette Valley more so than even Napa Valley. I'm seeing that with a lot of my collectors, and people want something new and different and authentic, and certainly Oregon brings that. You still feel that mom and pop kind of experience, or where you can actually go and do a tasting and sit down with the owner of the winery. I don't have any employees, so if you come and you taste at my winery, it's by appointment. You're sitting down with me and tasting together, and
that's
so
awesome.
building relationships. And
see, that's the thing. That's the thing you just don't see in California, and not even often in Oregon. Well, a lot more often in Oregon, where here we are, we're talking about your wine, and you're going to be the one to pour for people when they come visit your tasting room in Mcminnville. That's awesome.
It's important, I spend so much effort in making sure that everything is so perfect along the way that I want to be there for that final experience that you would have. But the one thing that I see happening, and what I hope, is that Oregon stays very true to its roots in being authentically Oregon and giving that really amazing experience, and not going for bigger, showier, flashier, better, and just, making it about the wine and building relationships with people.
Well,
I think that
I'll tell you what, you're killing it. I mean, first, I didn't know about your second labels when we first set up this interview. And I got to tell you, there are wineries out there, you know who they are. They'll put out a second label because it's, the fruit that they didn't really like, or, it was a wine that was okay, but they didn't want it to, dilute the quality of their actual brand. Not what's going on here. These are both terrific. I mean, I get what you're saying about ready to drink on the Peri Passu, but both of these are bigger style wines, but without being that over oaked, too high of an alcohol thing. They're going to be phenomenal food wines, because they've got the acid structure to stand up to really fatty food, like you might find at a mushroom restaurant. But
absolutely,
just with the way it's been evolving in the glass for the last 40 minutes or so, this is definitely a chill out by the campfire kind of wine too. So
these
great
are
job.
Delicious, medium to fuller bodied wines. If you like that style, you've got to check out Lindsay's wines. And people can buy these wines today off of your website, correct?
Absolutely.
And Lindsay is shipping. I wasn't able to ship. Lindsay is shipping.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shipping wines. And Chris also has a couple older bottles in his cellar, 2008. Is that right, Chris?
I have literally 2 bottles left of Lindsay's 2008 Retour.
2000.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll buy them from you.
I don't think so.
Full price.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Lindsay. We really appreciate it. And thank you again for this wine. They're delicious. I'm looking forward to enjoying this as the evening goes on. And it sounds like I need to leave them open and try and drink some more tomorrow.
Well, you'll try some more tomorrow for sure.
Yeah.
They're wines that evolve for sure. They're meant to be enjoyed with food. Absolutely. And before I hop off, I just want to say that if anyone chooses to purchase the wines, thank you so much. I hope you do. And for any sales of Peri Passu, we'll donate 50% to Black Tie Tours and to Joel Palmer House. So
support the restaurant that's involuntarily closed. Thank you.
Yes. So
I have hungry employees.
Yeah, thank you. Well, anything we can do to help, it's about the rising tide and all of us coming together to make sure that we're all successful and that we come back stronger than ever, which I truly think that we will. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a win-win-win.
Oh, absolutely.
Lindsay, thank you. We'll see you on the other side of this.
Oh,
cheers.
Look forward to it. Be happy, healthy, and safe. Be strong.
All right.
Peace out.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, she's awesome, dude. I haven't seen Lindsay in like years because I'm busy running a restaurant. So it's so nice to be able to just kind of kick back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She's one of the cool kids in the Valley. That's kind of the plan for the show, is to bring on some cool kids and have some fun and taste delicious wines. These wines, if you haven't tried these wines, you really do need to try them, especially if you like a little bigger, medium to fuller bodied Pinot. That's your style. Give these a shot. And they're a screaming deal, $40.
Yeah, $40. We forgot to mention the price earlier. And she'll ship a full case for free. So we're not limited to local pickup or local delivery. She'll ship to you for free if you buy a whole case. And at $40 a bottle, this is phenomenal wine. 2015 vintage on both of them. Willamette Valley fruit from Oregon. Win, win, win.
That's a good deal. All right, well, let's wrap it up here, brother. Those of you out there who've been enjoying this, thank you so much. Please, if you're not already following us on Black Tie Tours and the Joel Palmer House on Instagram, Facebook, etc., please do that. Of course, we're going to put a link when I post this, and that is for if you want to become a VIP, where you get early heads up on when we're going to be doing our content, but also discounts and specials and things like that other folks won't be privy to. So click on the link to become a VIP. And anything else, my brother?
Anytime. And the other thing is, if there's anything you can think of that you want us to talk about, you let us know. Does wine smell different out of here versus here? What's the proper way to open a wine bottle? What other winemakers do you want to talk to and answer questions of? Once we get the technical live thing figured out, you'll be able to ask those questions live. We'll ask them. One question we did not get to, which I thought was really important, was, does Lindsay prefer fast or slow zombies, and why?
Oh, we didn't.
We never got into talking about zombies. But next time.
These are important things. All right. Well, I'm not going to lie. I want to ask Jeff, her brother, because I would believe that Jeff has thought about this. Jeff is the kind of guy who I think has put some time into this. But
I was talking to Lindsay beforehand, and yeah, we're going to hang out. I mean, at least a 6 foot minimum, of course. But once we're able to break quarantine, we get to be social again. It'll be nice.
Sometime soon. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next week, 7:00. Wine Bros.
See you next week.